I'll probably lose followers for this, but Friday's White House press conference was a gold mine, or maybe a rare earth mine, of leadership mistakes that I don't want you to repeat at work.
I guess we have a lot, but we don't have raw earth.
I'm Andrew Sridhar. I'm a former Navy SEAL, Naval Academy graduate, Harvard Business School graduate, and I've been leading elite teams for 25 years. So here are 25 leadership mistakes, again, that I don't want you to repeat from Friday's White House press conference between Donald Trump and Volodymyr Zelensky alongside Vice President J.D. Vance. To be clear, this is not meant to be political at all. Some of you might get a little angry, but I want you to focus on the leadership lessons. The first lesson here is that leadership is not a title. Just because the president is elected president doesn't mean that at all times, no matter what he does, that he is actually leading. The next lesson is that leadership applies regardless of sphere. So a lot of people make the mistake of thinking that leadership is limited to things like the military or certain businesses or nonprofits. But the reality is leadership applies all throughout life. And we need to stop holding politicians to some sort of different standard where they're not expected to actually be leaders. Of the only thing that matters is that they advocate for the particular things that we believe in, or worse, that they are in our party. Okay, let's get into the nitty-gritty. The first thing is the bullying, and this was a masterclass in bullying. Number 3, raising voices. A leader doesn't raise his or her voice when things get heated. They maintain calm.
Please, you think that if you will speak very loudly about the war, you can...
He's not speaking loudly. He's not speaking loudly. Your country's in big trouble.
Can I
Wait a
answer?
minute. No. You've done a lot of talking. Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not winning.
I know.
You're not winning this. You have a damn good chance of coming out okay because of us.
4, making fun.
Then you tell us, I don't want a ceasefire. I don't want a ceasefire. I want to go and I want this.
Leaders don't make fun of people that they're trying to partner with or that they're leading. And the best example of this from Friday was the making fun of Volodymyr Zelensky's clothing. And don't get me wrong, I noticed it too. I can totally see how people would notice it. But in the moment, are you going to make fun of the guy? And frankly, I think it's a uniform for him. I think that Zelensky is trying to use symbolism as an outfit in order to signal what the situation is at home.
I will wear a costume after this war will finish.
Number 5, ganging up. It's a 2-on-1 situation. President Trump, Vice President Vance, 2 against 1 person. So in that situation, the dynamic is power mismatch, and leaders are cognizant of that. They don't try to gang up in a conversation. 2 people ganging up on is just really childish.
Problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that.
That's
Remember
exactly what
this.
you're doing.
And number 6 and number 7, over talking and talking way too much. The president and vice president engaged in over talking consistently, just raising their voices and interrupting the Ukrainian president. Second, they talked way too much, especially the president. I don't know what the balance was. I didn't calculate a percentage, but leaders do a lot more listening than talking.
Not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the
the
cards right now. With us, you start having
not playing cards.
Right now, you don't.
I'm very
You're playing
serious,
cards.
Mr. President.
You're
I'm
playing
very
cards.
serious.
You're gambling
I'm
with the
president
lives
in
of
war.
millions of people.
See, the thing is, weak, small people tend to root for that bully. They tend to root for the supposedly strong man because they don't have the power to do that themselves. And they envision themselves in that position, bossing people around, bullying people, just like that person they see in front of them, who in reality is weak on the inside too.
You want me to be tough? I could be tougher than any human being you've ever seen. I'd be so tough.
But let's be honest, the mistreatment started even before Zelensky came. When asked about the visit before he came, the president said, yeah, my people said something that he might come. This is denigration. This is making someone seem small. Let's also not forget that the whole reason this came together was because Senator Lindsey Graham had pulled together a mineral rights deal in order to get the president interested. That is extortion. We were trying to get something out of them in exchange for what is really a security issue and a human rights issue.
We're going to be putting some money in a fund that we're going to get from the raw earth that we're going to be taking and
the other aspect here is that English is clearly not the Ukrainian president's first language. And while inclusivity can be overhyped, the reality is they made no accommodation for the fact that he's speaking in a different language and they're speaking fast and loud and over talking, which is completely ridiculous. One of the biggest leadership lessons I've learned, seriously, the biggest, is that being right is overrated. And smart people tend to really want to be right, because they've excelled in a school system until adulthood that rewards that. And it was clear that on Friday, the president and vice president really, really wanted to be right. Don't make unreasonable demands like asking for a ceasefire unilaterally, which has been broken before, with nothing in return. A leader doesn't act like some sort of mafia don.
But you don't ask with respect. You don't offer friendship. You don't even think to call me Godfather.
Demanding thank yous and gratitude like some sort of small child, or rather, children in this case.
You should be thanking the president for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
they should have.
Have you said thank you once this
A lot
entire
of
meeting?
times.
No, in this
Even
entire meeting,
today.
have you said thank
Even
you?
today.
Also, it's easy to mistake disagreement for disrespect. I've been in lots of companies where weak leaders actually exhibit that behavior, where they can't imagine someone disagreeing with them and they take it as a sign of disrespect.
I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media.
Whereas leaders with high self-confidence, high self-esteem, and belief in their leadership skills, and notably trust and belief in their people and the people they're dealing with, they don't mind when people disagree because they're not challenged. Their identity is not threatened by that disagreement.
And do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country.
So I'm in here looking for the Gaslighting for Dummies book because my female relatives and friends always have to explain what gaslighting is to me. But I do know this. It's denying someone their reality. And there were numerous examples of that in Friday's press conference, including the fact that they said that Zelensky never said thanks, which, again, ridiculous as that is, that he has to say thanks over and over again. He actually has many times for what the American government and people have done to support Ukraine in this fight. The other thing is the risking World War III comment, as if there's some legitimate alternative to Ukraine defending their country. What do you do with that?
You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III.
Don't speak about yourself in the third person.
Obama gave sheets and Trump gave javelins.
Also, be consistent. Don't keep turning on people. Say you like someone, and then minutes later, you're attacking them. Don't be arrogant. Like the, I let this go on so the American people could see what's going on here comment, as if he's some sort of king managing the court.
See, I think it's good for the American people to see what's going on.
I understand, sir.
I think it's very
understand.
important. That's why I kept this going so long. You have to be thankful. You don't have the
I'm
cards.
thankful.
You're buried there. Your people are dying.
tell you
You're
again,
running
I
low
know.
on soldiers.
Don't-
Listen,
don't please
you're running
be
low on
suppressed.
soldiers. It would be a damn good
Be
thing. And then
suppressed.
Next, have a good strategy. It's clear that the president doesn't actually have a vision of how things should play out in a way that makes sense. Diplomacy is not a strategy. Also, the vice president and the president are pretending as if diplomacy is this natural gift they have instead of a skill that's developed over a lifetime.
Maybe engaging in diplomacy. What makes America a good country is America engaging in diplomacy. That's what President Trump is doing.
Yes, but after that, he broken this ceasefire. He killed our people, and he didn't exchange prisoners. We signed the exchange of prisoners, but he didn't do it. What kind of diplomacy, JD, you are speaking about? What do you mean?
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if...
By the way, I highly recommend the book Good Strategy, Bad Strategy. I'm only about a chapter in, and already the depiction of bad strategy accurately describes what the administration is doing right now. Demonstrate some empathy. The Ukrainian people have gone through a lot over the last 3 or so years, and the president and vice president demonstrated zero empathy for Volodymyr Zelensky's position and that of his people. The thing is, regardless of your political ideology, I think we can all agree that Presidents Clinton, Obama, and Reagan all would have demonstrated a lot more empathy for the Ukrainian president's position. I say a lot on this platform that trust is a two-way street. A lot of leaders aren't prepared to trust their people until they earn their trust, when in reality, leaders need to give that trust freely. The same is true of respect. The president and vice president make a big deal out of the Ukrainian president apparently disrespecting them. At the same time, they give him zero respect. And the reality is, he is a leader who has had an enormous amount of grit and has unified his people against an extremely powerful oppressor and invader. And they've held on for 3 years. U.S. weapons alone does not do that. So I think he's actually worthy of a little respect.
A very hard thing to do business like this.
Again,
I tell you.
just say thank you.
I said a lot of times to American people.
Except that there are disagreements when you're wrong. We know that you're wrong.
But you
Also, key in negotiations is trying to find a way where both parties can win. And instead, the president and vice president turned it into a very adversarial exchange instead of one of trying to find where the levers are and what values there are on both sides. There's also a problem of binary thinking. The president and vice president characterize security guarantees that Volodymyr Zelensky wants as extreme. But the reality is that a good leader finds a way to make an option out of something that seems very binary. Security guarantees or not. But the reality is that there's a whole spectrum of options and wordings there that don't necessarily obligate the U.S. to put boots on the ground or engage in World War III. Signaling is hugely important for a leader. And it's clear that the president got lost in his own stuff and in the argument instead of thinking about what signal that is sending to other countries in the same position, or who will be in the same position one day as Ukraine. Leaders take the high road. They don't say that their predecessor was stupid.
You haven't been alone.
This
We gave you, through
I
this
said
stupid president, $350 billion
You
with me.
It
That was with
wasn't
a guy named Biden, who was not a smart person.
Leaders try to shine a light on things, and they start with curiosity. And it was clear that that wasn't the vantage point of the president and vice president. J.D. Vance, when called out for not having visited Ukraine, tried to give a very awkward response. And it was clear that he assumed he had more knowledge of the situation than he did.
Been to Ukraine, that you say what problems we have.
I have been to.
Come once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories.
So that's it. 25 colossal leadership mistakes from the press conference on Friday that I don't want you to repeat at work. Thanks for coming along with me on this very commercial, errands-focused trip here. Be good this week.
You got to be more thankful.